Welcome, imps. I'm Hunter the Demon Prince with an episode of TCG to Master Duel, where I'll be translating a TCG deck or archetype to Master Duel's card pool and meta, along with showing you how the deck would play within the limits of Master Duel. And first we have Infernoble Knights. If you haven't heard of Infernoble Knights, the original version were just Noble Knights, which were based on Arthurian myth and legend. While their fiery counterparts are a lot newer, they are based on chivalric figures from the Matters of France, more specifically the epic The Song of Roland. Totally didn't steal that description from Wikipedia, thank you Wikipedia. These fiery boys will definitely be turning up the heat in Master Duel. Infernoble Knights is a semi-non-linear combo deck, focuses on summoning out Emperor Charles and the cooler Emperor Charles. This deck is getting a new wave of support in Master Duel this Wednesday, which will propel this deck to being one of Master Duel's top strategies. Starting off, we have 2 Immortal Phoenix Gearfried, which is a monster negate by sending an equip spell from the field to the grave. It's also non-targeting, non-destructible removal by equipping one of your opponent's monsters on attack declaration. This card can easily be cut to 1, he's just nice to open sometimes. Next, we have 3 yugioh, which can Foolish Burial any Fire Warrior or Noble Arms card on normal or special. In the grave, he can equip himself to a warrior monster to protect it from being destroyed by card effects. Following him, we have 3 Renaud, which on special summon lets you add an equip spell or fire warrior from grave or banish to hand. You can special summon from the hand if you control a fire warrior, and if he special summoned from the hand by his own effect, he becomes a tuner. Next is 2 Oliver. Oliver is an extender. He can discard a fire warrior or an equip spell to special summon himself, and then he becomes level 1. He is naturally a tuner. He also just kind of helps you make Baron, but he's easily cuttable to 1. In the grave, though, he can equip himself to a warrior monster and protect it from targeting. He was really good when we had Divine Sword Phoenix Blade, but Master Duel does not have that card. In the TCG, we don't really use that card anymore because Isolde's banned. There's no other real way to search it out because nothing searches it. So that engine's just kind of dead, but he is still good. He's just maybe not a 2 of anymore. On to the 1-ofs. First, we have 1 Malgus. Malgus is something we learned a little bit like mid format when we are discovering Infernoble Knight's new cards. So Malgus, on being sent to the graveyard, can shuffle back 3 Fire Warriors or Noble Arms cards. So it can actually shuffle back the field spell, funny enough, because it is a Noble Arms. And then it lets you draw a card. So this helps you draw more into either extenders if needs be, or it can in the end phase draw you into hand traps. Super helpful, super nice, and it gives you like endless recovery in this deck. This is grave or banish, gotta remember. Following him, we have 1 Baby Roland. Baby Roland is easily cuttable too. You could also play Super Quantum Red Layer if you really want to. He's just an Isolde target. You add him off Isolde because his effect is to equip to a monster as a quick effect and give it 500 attack, and then if he's sent to the grave that turn, during the end phase, lets you add a Fire Warrior or equip spell from deck to hand, just generally at anything. He's okay. He's honestly there just in case someone DD Crows or called by as your Big Roland. He's still easily cuttable. Following him, we have Turpin. Turpin is huge for this deck. Turpin's very, very good. He is the card you're going to be dumping into the graveyard repeatedly. He is a hard once per turn, either or effect. His equip effect just makes it so whatever he's equipped to becomes a tuner. Doesn't come up that often. You just mostly do it to scare Angelica, to get her off the field, to dump more stuff, to, keep extending and get all that fun stuff. But his second effect, which is super big, is that he can special summon himself to the graveyard if you control an equip spell. So if you have anything equipped, ta-da, Turpin's out. Now you can either make your 9, you can make your rank 4, either Dempsey or a Torgus, whatever you want. It's up to you. He is banished if he leaves the field though, but you have Malgus, shuffle right back. Following him, you have Ricardetto. Ricardetto is awkward to open. He is mainly what you're going to summon off as Zold, especially if you open the Ogier combo. Ricardetto can banish himself from hand or graveyard, special summon a lower 4 or lower Fire Warrior from your hand. Then it also becomes a tuner, but if he is normal or special summoned, he can special summon a level 4 or lower Fire Warrior from a graveyard, except himself obviously, and then he Xeno locks you into warriors. Very important if you're going to go into the Promethean Princess. Gotta remember that. His main thing is he makes your Synchrophize. He's really good at helping you make Synchrophize. Then you have Connector Package with Aqua Dolphin, really helpful. Just hand knowledge, hand ripping. If they got the Droll, you're not gonna let it happen. If they've got Max C, they've already used it. So, you just deal with what you got. Following that, you have Fireflint Lady. Fireflint Lady is just kind of there if your connector gets stopped, or if you need to do like Dempsey extenders, or you need to do Londolin extenders or something like that, or Torgus, because it's just warrior, not Fire Warrior, like Renaud. Just super helpful. I would not cut Fire Flint Lady. She's just a good one of. Following the spells, we do have 3 Heritage of the Chalice. Heritage of the Chalice is Noble Knight's Super Rhoda, as it adds any Noble Knight or Noble Arms card from deck or grave to your hand. Then if a Noble Knight is equipped with the Noble Arms card and is destroyed by battle, doesn't happen very often, your Noble Knights are huge in this deck, you get to add Heritage of the Chalice back to your hand. Following that, you just have 1 Rhoda. Rhoda's Rhoda, just add Warriors Extender. Then you have one of the new cards, you have Museum. Museum is amazing, absolutely propels this deck into top tier competitive strategy. Museum, what it does is all Fire Warriors give 500 attack, and then it's once per turn, soft once per turn because it's once per copy. You can pay 1200 life points, add a Noble Arms card from your deck to your hand, except itself obviously. Then if that effect goes through, you can then special summon a Noble Knight monster in your spell trap zone. So if you need to, you can always, like, if you don't expect a lot of rolls, slap down a Museum, pay the 1200. If it gets Ash, slap down a second Museum, do it again. Then you can use its effect to, get whatever you need, extend. It's how you get into the double Cooler Charles, all that fun stuff. It's amazing. And funny enough, since it's a Noble Arms card, not only does Malgus shuffle it back, Heritage searches it out. That's why you don't need terraforming. Next, you have Durendal. It lets you add any level 5 or lower Fire Warrior from deck to hand and then destroys it. Then you have the second effect. Doesn't happen very often, but if it's sent to the graveyard, because it's equipped monster was sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a level 5 or lower Fire Warrior from your graveyard and special summon it. Then it xenolocks you into warriors. You don't use that effect a lot, but it can come up. Who knows? Almace, new equip spell, really helpful. What it does is equips another Infernoble Arms equip spell to an appropriate target, then it pops itself, so it keeps an equip spell on the field at all times, but it also fills up your grave with equip spells. If your Zold gets stopped or you just can't make it or whatever, or you don't want to make it, you can definitely do that. Addable with Noble Arms Museum, so if you don't want to go into a Zold place, you want to go into Angelica place, perfect card. Then if it's sent to the graveyard while it's equipped, yada yada, you can target a Fire Warrior monster that is banished or in your graveyard, add it to your hand. That second effect is just kind of Renaud, in all honesty. Then you have 1 Joyeuse. Joyeuse is just add a Fire Warrior from grave to hand, pop itself. The first effect is mainly one of the more popular ones. You kind of just use it for that, and it's just another name. It's also part of the Atorgus line. If the equip goes to graveyard because it was equipped, you can special summon a Fire Warrior from your hand. That effect rarely comes up. You don't use it a lot unless you've got like Dark Hole and a monster you don't want to normal summon in your hand. It's very awkward. Following that, we have Angelica's Ring. Don't know if it's going to be in the selection pack. If not, just play 2 Living Fossil. We don't have Divine Sword Phoenix Blade, and even then we don't have DDR, so it's kind of just like, just play a second Living Fossil. But if we do have it, it does negate the first opponent's spell effect per turn, and since you're not responding to it, it's the spell effect, you can actually negate Super Poly with this. So if your opponent slaps down Super Poly, negated. If they just slap down Lightning Storm, negated. You mostly use this to send to the graveyard to equip in the end phase because of Charles's effect. Its other effect is you can gain 500 life points, destroy this card, and if you do, your opponent cannot target that monster while it's face up on the field. Doesn't come up as often. It's maybe like a turn 3 come up, but at that point you're just winning the game. Then you have Living Fossil. Living Fossil is just like, oh, I need an extender, add it off for an odd kind of thing. Just special summon a level 4 or lower from the graveyard and just use it for either synchro, anything you need to, mostly synchro material, but sometimes link material. And since it's Master Duel, the Maxi package, you can't really leave home without it. It's mandatory, unfortunately. You can play cross out if you want, but his deck's already kind of tight-ish. I mean, there's some cuttable cards, but you don't want to cut too much. Down to the extra deck, you have double Emperor Charles the Great, pretty much cooler Emperor Charles. His effect is a soft once per turn. That's why you play 2 of them. He does have a weird summoning condition, but he is easy to turbo into 2 of. On summon, he can equip a Emperor Charles, the synchro version, to himself, and then he gets that original name and effect. And Emperor Charles' effect is a hard once per turn, not the great one, because that's why he's so great. He's got a soft once per turn. Then if a spell trap effect is activated, you can send an equip spell from hand or field to negate that effect. Following that, you have Ferocious Flame Swordsman. He's just a generic Fire Warrior, Link 2. In all honesty, we're about to head into a fire format. You could honestly just play Hida. Hida would just be another generic one. The only reason you play this is either you need to downlink into a Fire Warrior for Renaud for whatever reason, or you need to get rid of it. But at that point, just make Hida. So like it's optional. Then you you have double Zold. Because Kashtira still exists, you have to play 2 of it, unfortunately. But at this point, you could honestly play 1. You know what a Zold does. On summon, adds a warrior. You can't use its effect, whatever, you don't care. Second effect, dump a bunch of equip spells, special summon something from the deck. Following her, you have 1 Promethean Princess. We don't have her in the TCG yet, but we're about to. Honestly, really helps with the Dempsey line a lot. Dempsey will, after searching Renauds, she special summons, you get into 5s, boom, you're off to the races. The only thing you can't make with her is Barra de Fleur and 2 Charles, unless you can link her off again. But she does Xenolock you into fires while on the field. Gotta remember that. And then she's got that graveyard effect. She's just so good. Raten's here, generic link 3 in your deck, semi-generic. I mean, you play all warriors, so it doesn't really matter. He pops a monster at the start of the battle phase, so disruption there. And then in your standby phase, he can special summon a level 4 or lower monster, the same type this card points to. So pretty much if you have him and say Emperor Charles the Great, there you go. You can special summon a Renaud, an Ogier, to whatever helps you close out the game. Following him, you have Goki Powerload Ogre. Honestly, out of all the cards to not cut that isn't a fire monster, it would be Goki Powerload Ogre in Master Duel, because Labyrinth is everywhere. This card is amazing against Labyrinth or any stun deck. If they don't flip up Skill Drain first and you summon him out, they're doomed. What Powerload Ogre does is that he obviously gains 200 attack for every link monster on the field, but he's unaffected by everything. He is a towers. Then you contribute 1 Goki link monster, which is himself, pop that many cards up to its link rating, which is 4. So you contribute him, pop 4 cards your opponent controls. At that point, most Labyrinth matches are just kind of dead. Following that, you have double Angelica, because Cashier Unicorn is still a scary thing. You do not want her to leave. She is your most important. She is your most important Secret 5. Second most important is going to be your Roland. Regardless, on summon, she adds a Horn of Oliphant, which is just banishes a equip spell, destroy 1 card, or a card that says Infernoble Emperor Charles, which is Noble Arms Museum. Very important. She just adds Museum, gets you extenders. If she's targeted by a card effect or battle, she can banish herself, so she just runs away until the end phase and sends a Fire Warrior from deck, and then you can special summon 1 Roland monster from your deck or extra deck. So pretty much use her to special summon Synchro Roland, Big Roland. You won't get his synchro summoned effect unless you manually make him, which is okay. You don't really care that much about it, but it's just an add a fire warrior or add a warrior monster from your deck in the end phase, but send an equip spell from your deck. If he is in the graveyard, he can target a warrior and equip it. Gives it 500 attack. It is a quick effect. He is your main card that's going to be equipped to a Charles to pop something on the field. The only reason you play Baby Roland, as I said, is because if he gets called by it or DD Crowed or something like that, they can pop him. Alondolin's here for the Gearfried combo, especially if you cut Gearfried to 1, because sometimes you just want to summon him out before it's summoned 5. So he is part of the Gearfried combo. Londolin on summon equips in a Noble Arms equip spell from deck, so you just pretty much get Noble Arms Durendal. Durendal then just becomes Search Out Fire Flint Lady, those 2 into Zold, do your whole combo. Then you have 1 Emperor Charles. Honestly, you could probably bump him up 2 because Cashier Unicorn is scary. Cashier Unicorn will eat this deck alive if they go for Charles. He is your bread and butter right now, unfortunately, but his effect is that when a equip card is equipped, he can pop a card on the field. Then in the end phase, he can equip a spell card from grave or hand, equip a Fire Warrior from deck, and it gives that Fire Warrior give him 500 attack. But pretty much a lot of the combo is you'll equip an equip spell, mostly Angelica's Ring from graveyard, because you'll dump it with his old or some other way, and then you'll equip Malgus and then use this effect to pop Malgus. Malgus will then shuffle back 3 cards, draw you a card, so you have like 4 cards in hand by the end of your turn. Following him, you have 1 Baron de Fleur. Can't make her with Promethean Princess, but that's not the worst thing in the world. You mainly make her if you have Emperor Charles on the field and one of your level 1 tuners, and you really don't want to make a second Charles, or if you've just opened the nuts and got like 3 field spells to go off. Then we have Battle and Box for King Dempsey. I don't know if he's going to be in the selection pack. If not, you're going to want to play Artorigas, King of the Noble Knights. Both have effects that are pretty much going to add a Fire Warrior from deck to hand. The only difference is that Dempsey can not only detach a card to protect himself, but he's just add a warrior on summon, and he is a Fire Warrior, so he helps with Renaud. Artorigas isn't a Fire Warrior, but he does equip 3 Noble Arms equip spells from the graveyard to himself. Then he can detach a material to pop spell traps up to the number of materials that are equipped to him. It can be a triple back row pop. It's very good, and if you're going against a lot of Labyrinth, very good in the matchup. He isn't that good because he doesn't have natural protection, and your Noble Arms equipped spells don't give him natural protection. Regardless, since Promethean Princess is out, you can go with either or, whatever you feel is better, because you just make Promethean Princess after adding Renaud, and there you go, you're off to the races. You still make Angelica if needs be. So a lot of the cards I was talking about, like the double Gear Free, you can cut a Gear Free, you can cut an Oliver, and you can probably cut Baby Roland. You can put in blowout cards, because sometimes this deck has trouble going second if you don't have hand traps, as you have to play the Maxi package and you're already at 41 cards for right now. Put in Kurikara, you can put in Evenly, you can put in Drolls. You really want blowout cards. Having trouble dealing with back row, Lightning Storm, Feather Duster. One of the main problems you're going to run into in this deck is if you go against a lot of Kashtira. I know Kashtira isn't very consistent right now, especially because like all their cards are limited, but a Rise Heart is the death of this deck repeatedly. Like until Rise Heart was banned, this deck was struggling to make top cuts just because Kashtira was everywhere. You can also play Arfe Duder if you really need to. Arfe Duder is another back row removal. It just lowers your monster attack by 500 permanently and then pops a set card. It's okay. It's searchable though, so there is that. Regardless, like that's pretty much the deck. I'll also give you Pax deck, and this is Pax version of super heavy Diabell Star Infernoble. The only reason I'm showing you this is mainly because the Diabell Star is coming out in the selection pack. I thought it was going to come out about a lot later. I was going to be able to show you combos and how this deck would function a lot more. Since I don't really have time to do that, I'll link Pax video on how he's showing you how to play this deck without Isolde. This deck actually doesn't need to play with Isolde, in all honesty. The only problem is this deck is going to be very expensive because they made these cards URs, and I don't know why. This is a super, that's $2 in the TCG. Common. I think this has a super reprint. That's it. Regardless, these cards are expensive in the TCG, so flip that. Diabell Star is probably going to be an ultra, no doubt about it. Same with Sinful Spoils. That's an ultra. That's probably an SR at minimum. I would not be surprised. He's also playing SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight, again, you could probably cut for like Hida, Arturgus, Promethean Princess. You only really need to play one Isolde. Isolde does not come up that much in this deck at all. And then, you know, he's playing Dempsey. You can also play a Torgus if you really want to. And Typhon, I don't think we're getting Typhon in the selection pack. If we are, amazing. If not, cut Typhon, probably cut SP Little Knight because it's probably not coming out yet. You can throw Ra 10, Hida, Promethean Princess, whatever you feel like in this one. This is still his deck. His deck was at 42. I cut it to 41. It's pretty much exactly the same thing. Oh yeah, he was also debating on playing Angelica's Ring just because it is a spell negate with Emperor Charles. He was still just playing these two just because you equip All Mace and then you get Durendal and then use Durendal's effect, pop itself. So you still have an equip spell in the graveyard for Emperor Charles. Still super helpful. Here's one of my favorite combos for Infernoble Knights. Okay, so this is the kind of like 2-ish card combo. All these cards are searchable. Durendal is literally just here as just an extra equip spell. I could just remove it and just say, oh, you probably have an equip spell. They're so searchable in this deck. Start with Ogier, send Gearfried, summon out Renaud, add back Gearfried. You go Synchro into Londolin will then get you Durendal will get you Fireflint Lady. Gearfried to summon, equip Gearfried, there you go, now you're protected from Nibiru. That was summon 4, that was summon 5. Into Isolde. Now I do want to point out why I summon Isolde here. Isolde kind of sticks around in the end on most of your plays, so you don't want to lock off any of her zones, because that's how you have the double Charles. So if I put her here, she would have not been able to summon the second Charles. He would have just been only one, and I would have just been out of luck. Isolde, added Baby Roland, set Angelica's Ring, go summon Ricardetto into Ogier, into Angelica, add the field spell, searching out All Mace, target Angelica, she gets scared, Ash herself, sends Turpin's effect, because you control an equip spell, summon him out, go into Charles, go into Cooler Charles will equip, use field spell to summon back Charles, use Ogier to equip to Charles, go into other Cooler Charles. Now, since you control an equip spell, you can then equip Angelica to this Charles and a Fire Warrior from deck, which will be Malgus. Then I'll just pop the Malgus. Malgus will shuffle 3 back, I get the draw card, and have Angelica back in the end phase. All things concluded. You end with 1 spell trap negate, 2 spell trap negates, a pop. Well, it's a hard once per turn. You have 2 ways to equip something on your opponent's turn, either through Big Roland or Baby Roland. The first spell your opponent plays is automatically negated. Angelica can bounce out to send Turpin again, so you can do that. And then you also have Monster Negate. So from that, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different disruptions from just 2 cards that are super searchable in your deck, and you're insulated from Nibiru that entire time. The deck is not super linear, as it is a lot of thinking of like how to get from A to B through my card effects. I would honestly practice this with friends, solo mode, or like just try it out in ladder. Don't be afraid to like mess up your combos. It's a learning curve. The Dempsey combo especially, because I had to relearn that one. I was used to Artorigus for so long until we got Dempsey. And we also didn't have Promethean Princess, so a lot of the combos in my mind did not use Promethean Princess until I like reread her effect. I'm like, oh, this she's crazy. Holy crap, why are we playing? Oh yeah, she's not out. I would test these a lot of the time. If you want to add more extenders, so you can use Promethean Princess, get her off the field. You could also play with Promethean Princess. You can also play Salamangreat. Pyro Phoenix is a Link 4, like a generic Link 4, just takes 2 fire monsters. So you can use Promethean Princess to link into Pyro Phoenix and then immediately side link into Zelantis. Zelantis is really good as he just kind of nukes the whole field. You won't really use Pyro Phoenix's effect because you need to summon him using Pyro Phoenix and you're not playing Salamangreats. So ignore that thought, but he is a Link 4 to get into a Zelantis and just nuke the board. Regardless, I want to see how you're going to play Infernoble Knights. If you're going to play Pax version, are you going to play my version? Are you going to try the Zelantis combo? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to give it a like and share it if you liked it. Thank you very much.